But let's say that my betrayed partner says, yeah, I'm triggered right now. And I say, well, tell me what's going on. And they share a little bit, or maybe I know what just happened. Maybe I just drove by a place where acting out happened, or maybe a song came on that I know is a trigger for her, or something like that. What happens next? So I've done S.A., now next V, I'm going to validate. When we validate, here's what you got to do. You got to be vulnerable. You need to be specific, and you need to own it. The more vague you are, the more it's going to feel like minimizing or deflection. So you say something like this: it makes sense to me that you would feel afraid right now. It makes sense to me that you'd be afraid and angry that I'm 30 minutes later getting home than I said I would be. It must remind you of when I was having an affair and I would stay late at work to cheat on you. The addict who's having to say that is going, oh my gosh, I don't want to say all that. I don't want to. But if you say it must remind you of what I did, that's not going to work. That sounds like minimizing. It sounds like you're running away from it. But if you own it, what does that say to her? I'm not alone with this. He does see that it affected me. Now, this does two things to the brain. One, it soothes the nervous system because they're not alone with their pain or their fear or their whatever it is. So the whole nervous system is soothed by this. It makes sense to me that you feel hurt that you found out from so-and-so my meeting's canceled and I didn't tell you myself. You know, it must remind you of when I used to not share any of my own recovery journey with you, and must have felt like we were going back there. She's not alone with that. Not being alone automatically lowers the intensity of the emotion, but it does something else that's really, really important, okay? And that is that it helps that left-right connection that was missing in the brain. The reason why the right brain triggers come with such force, why it feels like we're reliving them rather than remembering them, is because they're not connected in time in the left brain. What does this do? It's taking their experience that feels overwhelming and like a present threat, and I'm helping them make that connection in time to what happened. That filing cabinet that's all jumbled up and mixed up, and that the left hippocampus is inflamed trying to get sorted out. I'm saying, oh, it's this file that's got you upset right now. Oh, it was this one that reminds you of this that happened when I did that. And so it actually helps bridge that gap, which is a movement toward healing. After I validate, then I'm going to empathize. This is demonstrating compassion by showing that I can imagine how my partner feels. So I would say something like, I can feel how scared you are right now. Or if I don't feel it, if the word feel doesn't fit there, that's okay. You can say, I can see how afraid this makes you. I can see how angry you are. I know you're really hurting right now. Name it. So naming the emotion, as I said a minute ago, I think, naming the emotion, it lessens the intensity of the emotion, not to zero, but it might take it from an 8 to a 7. And then the experience of that emotion with another person, experiencing those emotions with another person, lessens the intensity even more. There's a really, really fascinating piece of research that was done a few years ago where they put women into fMRI machines and administered electrical shocks to them. I know that sounds terrible. It was a small shock though. They did brain scans of their experience of the pain. First thing you need to know is that emotional pain and physical pain register basically the same way in the brain. It hurts. They put them in the fMRI machine, gave them these shocks. If they were alone, their brains lit up like a Christmas tree, and then they self-reported a very high intensity of pain. If they had a stranger with them holding their hands, it was slightly less activity in the brain, and they reported slightly less intensity of the pain. If they had their partners with them, and if they were in secure attached relationships with their partners, good relationship with their spouse, basically, there was hardly any, it was like a blip in comparison of brain activity when the shock was administered, and they self-reported far less pain. What's up with that? Being with someone in the experience lessens the intensity of it. That's why it's important to empathize and hold space, make space for that pain there where you're present with them. And then the last step is to secure. With your partner's cortex back online and their nervous system less aroused, more regulated, they can actually receive comfort. So if you start with, I'm not acting out, I love you, it's okay, I'm not doing anything, nothing happened. First of all, you're probably saying that from a place of panic. That's not going to help. Second of all, even if you are trying to say it from a place of grounding and security, if their frontal cortex is offline and their nervous system's dysregulated, that's not getting in there. You have to do all of those first steps, help them get their cortex back online and turn down the noise level of the nervous system so that they can receive those words of comfort. I'm here now. I'm not acting out. I have your back. I choose you. You're safe. Different words for different couples, different people, whatever those are. Then you say those in the end. Here you're drawing on your core values. And in the end, if you're doing this, if you're making the effort to make a save, I've got to believe one of your values is connection. So you're choosing connection in doing this. And so in the end, what you've just done is, in that moment, you help bring the prefrontal cortex a little more online. You have helped bridge the gap between left and right hemisphere and made some connections. You've lowered the intensity of the distress in the nervous system and opened a way for them to actually receive a securing statement.